everybody. Welcome back to the Most Valuable Podcast. I am Mark Williams with my colleague,
Victor Castro.
and we are just two dudes who talk about real estate for a living. We are now in 2025. We are rocking and rolling, and you are that much closer to becoming a homeowner. So we are going to talk about buyer sacrifices and what it actually takes to put yourself in a position to accomplish that goal of homeownership. So we're going to jump right into it. I know Victor has one top of his head. So Victor, what is a buyer sacrifice that you think is one of the most important to do?
The most common for me, Mark, is being able to commute to work or extend your commute to work. So most of my clients, especially as of recent, have been relocating from different cities. Example, San Jose to Antioch, Novato to Fairfield, Oakland to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
It's like they're always relocating. And so if you're going to purchase a home, you're going to have to be okay with being able to be in traffic for an hour or two.
So what is the purpose of the relocation? Like, why are they extending themselves a little bit further?
Because the closer you are to those cities that I just mentioned that they're relocating, example, San Jose, it's expensive to live in San Jose.
It is.
Home prices are $1 million plus. You might not even find $1 million home. And if you do, it needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
San Francisco, the same thing. The closer we get to the inner bay, right?
Yeah.
Oakland, San Francisco, home prices increase. And so a lot of people, to become homeowners, they have to make the sacrifice to live in a more affordable city, and it requires driving to get to work.
Yeah, man. I mean, you kind of got to do what you got to do, right? And it has to do with affordability, right? Because as a buyer, you're going to get pre-approved to purchase something. And sometimes you may be in a rental situation, right? A lot of people are in good rental situations sometimes, especially if they're like in Oakland or San Francisco with like the rent control. You may be paying what it costs you to rent, maybe far less than what it would be to purchase in that neighborhood. So when you get pre-approved and you're only pre-approved for like maybe what you're paying in rent, surprise, that doesn't qualify you to buy in that same neighborhood.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, well, why don't I? So if I was someone that's renting, Victor, and let's just say my rent is $3,500 a month, and I'm only pre-approved for $4,500 a month mortgage payment, but I'm in San Francisco, why would I want to stay? Why would I want to go buy a home? Why don't I just continue to rent? I'm asking you, like
Right.
We get that all the time, right? Like what's the besides me owning the home, like you're telling me I'm going to have an hour and a half commute now? Why? Like why should I do that?
Well, it just goes back to what your priorities are. If your priority is to have control of your living situation and not have those rent increases, moving forward and knowing exactly what you have to come out of pocket, home ownership is the key to that.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want that and you see the value of it, and you also want maybe to retire early because your home is also, it might be an investment.
True.
Then it's going to be worth to sacrifice maybe an hour or two more a day and maybe $100 in gas. Yeah.
So maybe that sacrifice now of my time will give me more time in the future because I'll be able to leverage this property to maybe retire earlier than if I was just renting forever.
Yeah. Sacrifice now, live later.
So there's something,
right?
I haven't read the book yet, but there's someone that writes this book that I've been wanting to read, and it's called Buy Back Your Time. And like your time is invaluable. So like for people that are small business owners like ourselves that have to run the operations, expenses, all this stuff, right? all these moving parts. You know, that's our time away from our family and our time away from enjoyment, right? So what if there is a system out there that helps us schedule clients automatically? That saves us X amount of time. You get what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
So to your point, commuting, okay, I'm going to buy this home. It's going to cost me $1,000 more a month. And on top of that, I'm going to have to drive an extra hour a day, okay, and spend a little bit more on gas. But really my time, I'm losing 2 hours a day of my time now. But the point you're making is, okay, well, in 30 years, when your home is paid off,
Or less.
and your home and the values have gone up over the last 30 years. Just think of the home you're living in now, what it cost 30 years ago. I put $100 that anyone's home now is worth more than it was 30 years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then to your rent, compared to your rent for 30 years, right? Even if you pay the same amount of rent for 30 years, that's 30 years of money you just threw out the window.
Which no one
No
is.
return on that money.
Which no one is also.
Yeah.
Their rent's obviously going to go up.
Yeah, they're going to go up, but there's no return on that money, right? So I can't get that money back. And all that money I invested over that 30 years doesn't help me with the next 30 years. Where as a home, yeah, I sacrifice some time and maybe a little bit more money, but now I'm ready to leverage this home to buy back my time. Right?
Right.
That's how you got to think about stuff. That's how I think about stuff. Like, what can we do to like free up more time? And yeah, sometimes you got to grind in the beginning, right? To get things going. But the whole point of like getting your business ramped up or, getting better in your career or expanding is to like put you in a position to enjoy your time after that profession. And like when you rent, you're just throwing that money away. That's my biggest sacrifice is like understanding. The biggest sacrifice for me is like understanding that it's not okay to throw away money.
I know you hate that, Mark.
It drives me it drives me crazy, dude. I'm cheap, bro. Like, I get it. There's nothing wrong with renting. I think we've had this conversation a couple of times. We've all rented.
Numerous times.
We all, and I'm not expecting every 18-year-old, even mid-20s nowadays, to be able to go buy a home. Yes, we see it, and you see it online, and you see people, oh, this 22-year-old bought a home. Hey, congratulations. That's great. You're ahead of the curve. Whether you earned it on yourself or, your parents helped you out, whatever. That's great. You're smart. The good thing is you're smart. You know that you find the value in home ownership. But I'm a realist, and I know that the struggle is real for a lot of people in that age group, right? I just did some research on it, and millennials actually struggle to pay their living expenses more than anybody else nowadays. So we know the struggle is real. But the thing is, it's like, you got to realize that it is not okay to just throw that money away monthly. Yes, you need shelter, but how do you make sure that you own that shelter instead of paying Mark as your landlord?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And people don't realize you're paying for a mortgage regardless. You're just paying someone else's.
Yeah, it's just somebody else's. And, that brings us to another sacrifice is, a way to put yourself in a position to buy a home is to lower your monthly expenses. And what's the largest expense other than a home for most people, Victor?
It's driving. It's a car. So a lot of people want the nice car too, Who doesn't want a nice car? If you could have I don't know. What would you like?
Honestly, I'm at that age where I'd like someone to just drive me around.
Well, that's what they say. Once you get to that level, that's when you're really balling.
Yeah,
you can have the car, but if you're driving it yourself and you don't have someone driving you in it, then you're not really balling.
I mean, if I could have any car right now, like for just like a daily commuter, there's that new Rolls Royce. It's called the Spectra. That's their electric car. Like, I mean, why not? You know, like
Right.
if I have any car,
Right.
it's also $500,000.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you get the point. If you could have any luxurious, expensive car versus a cheap car, like if you could, why not, right? But the problem is when you cannot afford it. And let's keep it real. Most people can't afford the car that they want, but they still get it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just how like American culture is, right? Status symbol, status quo. Oh, you drive a Honda? Oh, you're driving a Civic? Ha ha ha, I got a Mercedes, you know? Who cares? It gets me from point A to point B. And like I don't even like to use the word cheap. I mean, most cars that we idolized growing up, they're cheap now. And like those were the cars like that we wanted. But even like newer cars, there's so many incentives with like lease deals and stuff. Like my question to most people, if you're listening to this while you drive, if you're like my wife who drives in 3 years of her last car that we leased, she only drove 20,000 miles in 3 years. Why would I need to go buy her $100,000 car? She's literally on the road twice a week for 30 minutes, you know, like to get a point A to point B, right? Like that's what I want. If you're thinking this right now, that's what I want you guys to think is like put it in perspective. How much are you really driving?
And where are you driving?
And where are you driving to? And what's the purpose of the drive, right? And you know, if you're driving Uber, it makes sense to, you know, have a nicer car so you can do Uber Black. But if you're just driving to the office, who are you impressing? Your colleagues because you parked your nice car in the parking lot? Who cares? Is that worth $8? I think I saw something, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But you know what? Let me try to pull this up. But what I was saying is to that point, it's like who are you trying to impress?
Yeah. It's funny that you said that about your wife driving 20,000 in 3 years.
Yeah, bro.
Bro, I have literally 18,000 miles on my car, and I just got it last year.
Yeah, you're like 1 year. I drive like 15,000 miles a year on average. I think the first year I drove a little bit more, but on average it's like 15K. And I think that's like the average in California. It's like 15,000 miles is like an average.
Right.
12 to 15. But yeah, she doesn't, you know, she works, you know, hybrid. She's like 90% at home and like 10% in the office. And the office is what? 8 miles down the street? And then she runs errands locally?
Yeah.
Whenever we go anywhere far, I usually take my car because it's electric, right? So it's like, do you really need, does she really need that expensive car? And, you know, our lease was up and her sister bought the car from the lease because she liked it. And her sister does commute and they needed a newer car. So they got a good deal. And yeah, we upgraded cars for her. We got a little bit bigger car and it's brand new, but we didn't buy it. We just leased it.
And it's the about the same payment, right?
Yeah, the payment's like $30 more a month.
So you got a bigger car for $30 more.
Yeah, but we could have got, and here's the thing, that car we got like the base model. If we would have spent another $100 more a month, we could have got the higher trim. But we don't need the higher trim. Why spend $1,200 more a year to barely drive?
It goes back to what we're talking about.
Exactly.
That's the sacrifice, and that's what we're challenging all our future home buyers and our current home buyers, our clients, is that even after you buy the home, you still have to sacrifice. You have to make the sacrifice before you buy the house, and you have to continue to make that sacrifice after you own the house, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to buy our second home, maybe.
Yeah.
Our third home.
Exactly.
Right? So,
and let's stay on the car for a second. I'm going to read this. I just Googled this. Everyone be Googling stuff. I can Google stuff too. In the third quarter of 2024, the average monthly car payment in the United States was, for new vehicles, $737. For used vehicles, $520. And for new leases, $581. $737 without insurance. and I'm about to be 43. I got a great driving record. And insurance is still expensive, right? Because it goes off the value of the car. So let's just say $200 more in insurance. Okay. And then you get in a gas-powered car. So I filled up her tank yesterday, was $80. So say you're filling up twice a month. So you're spending over $1,000 to drive your car a month. That's $12,000 a year. That's crazy, bro. That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's your closing costs.
$12,000 a year. Think about it. If you saved $12,000 for 2 years, you'd be at $24K. I just helped a client get in a home for $30,000 out of pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, put that in perspective. And this is something else we want to talk about too. Sacrifice. How about things you don't need to sacrifice? If you like Starbucks, live it up. Go to Starbucks every single day.
Or Pete's.
Wherever. You know, what's your drink cost you? $6? You know, $6 in a whole month. You're not going every day. You're probably going 5 times a week. What's that? $30 a week, $120 a month times 12. You know, what was it? $1,400 a year. Yeah, that's not going to do anything. It's not going to move the needle that much, right? It's not going to move the needle. Enjoy your coffee. Hey, I'm a golfer. You want that golf club? $600? Buy the golf club. It lasts you, 3 years. I'll have that golf club. Cost of ownership's $200 a year. It's not going to move the needle. What moves the needle is not paying $1,000 a month on a vehicle that I don't need to drive, 10,000 miles a year. Right. Why don't I go lease? They have all these lease deals. They have where do you commute? I think that's one. Where do you commute? Cool. Where are you commuting from? How many miles do you drive per year? Right? And some leases don't make sense because you don't want to go over your mileage. Okay, I get it. You want a comfortable car. Right? You want a comfortable car to you made this sacrifice. Now you want a comfortable car to commute. Most cars are comfortable. Every car now has Bluetooth, navigation, Apple CarPlay. As long as it can play and if you don't have Apple CarPlay, you can buy an adapter to play Apple CarPlay. I don't know, bro. Save the $1,000. What if you cut that in half? What does that do for you monthly?
We didn't even talk about maintenance too.
And we're not even talking about maintenance. Tires.
Look, hey, we're in the Bay Area. There's potholes everywhere.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They're literally we're paying all these taxes and the streets don't look like we're paying all these taxes. It's potholes everywhere, right? So you're going to buy $1,000 or you're going to have $1,000 payment a month. And then your tires are going to go out sooner because the streets are not well maintained. Your suspension is going to be all messed up. So you're going to need new shocks pretty soon or faster than your average car. So, I mean, those are added expenses that you have to take into account before making that decision and moving forward with a car.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. And okay, I don't want, if you're listening to this and you know me, you're probably you're like, oh, I just saw you on Instagram. You're driving an old school car. You have a Tesla. Well, guess what? I also have 2 houses. I have a garage to park the car. I've already made those sacrifices.
You're parking it in your own house.
I have paid solar.
You're not parking it under the freaking.
Yeah. And I'm not here and I'm not flexing right now. What I'm saying is I already made those initial sacrifices to have the house. Now I can enjoy a little bit more because I made those purchases. I've already made the sacrifices to save up the money to get the house, right? When I bought my home, bro, I never owned a new car ever in my life until 2016. And I've been driving since 96. 20 years I drove used vehicles. I would look for vehicles that I could either buy cash, with the 9-10 grand I saved up, that would be dependable enough. And I'd look for the ones that like grandma owned her whole life and put no miles on. You know what I'm saying? Compared to like getting a new car. Or I look for ones that I maybe could get a small loan from like my credit union to build my credit. But I would always budget myself like 15 grand, right? Put $5,000 down. You're financing like 10 grand. My payments would be like $200 a month. Like it took me 20 years to really say, okay, I deserve this. I've done the home ownership thing. I'm on home number 2. And I have a nice house. I've grown in my career. I've learned how to budget and finance. And I still going to control what I spend. I didn't go buy the Model S. I got the Model 3. I could buy the Model S, but why? I don't need that. Needs versus wants.
It's going a little overboard.
You know what I'm saying? Needs versus wants.
Yeah.
Cool. Off the car topic. But if you're driving, look at yourself in your mirror right now and say, do I really need this car? Mark has a point. If you own your home and you're driving a nice car, props to you. Props to you. That's how it's done. Get the driveway and the garage first, then get the car.
Absolutely.
So I always tell my clients.
Yep.
What's another sacrifice, Victor?
The house itself. The house itself. And what do I mean by that? So you're going to buy a house, but do you need 5 bedrooms, 6, do you need 3 bathrooms, 4 bathrooms? Or do you just need 2 bedroom or a 3 bedroom, a simple, 2 bathroom? Do you need 3,000 square feet, or can you do with 1,500 square feet? Half of that.
Yeah.
Do you need the 10,000 foot lot, or can you do with a 5,000 square foot lot?
So you know what? I'm gonna raise my hand. I didn't need, like, living in my home we're going on 8 years now. I think end of January makes 8 years. I don't need this home. Like, I need the home, but I don't need this big of a home. It's too much. It's too much maintenance. It's too big for me to clean. There's 3 of us and 2 cats in a 3,000 square foot home. The cats have their own bedroom, bro. There's literally a room that has 2 cat towers and some cat toys, and that's their room. Like, I don't need this extra space. We have a guest room that gets used twice a year. It's nice having the office, but then I have a loft that I never use. Like, going back, I'm glad I bought when I bought. And I'm glad I got the big home because it wasn't that much more than the smaller home at that time. But now reassessing, I probably should have reassessed and said, okay, what do I actually need? Maybe give a little bit room for expansion. And I probably would have got the smaller of the model homes in my neighborhood and be just as happy right now. And like, to your point, like, if you're looking to purchase a home, do you need, like, exactly, what do you need? Do you need that big home? Like, why?
Yeah.
Needs versus wants.
We all would want a huge house and have the extra space, but do you really need it? And you know what? There will be a point probably down the line where you own your 3rd or 4th home and you can splurge and you could do that.
Yeah.
You could give yourself that award of, working so hard and making the sacrifices that we are talking about today, that you are, you're able to have that extra space if you want.
And like, a good practice to do, and it's something that I used to do when I used to do financial literacy, like when we give free courses. And when I worked at the bank, I would go to like churches, or I'll go to like someone's, like a corporation, like headquarters, and like talk to people at lunch. I remember I went to a hospital. We had like 200 people, and it was all nurses and stuff. And basically what I did was we gave a presentation on like savings, right? Because, you're in that career, more than likely, next step is like investing, buying a home, so on and so forth. And a good activity to do. And I tell my clients, my buyer clients, this all the time now. Get a sheet of paper. If you're single, just do it with you. If you're in a relationship or have a significant other, you guys sit down get a white piece of paper or binder paper, draw a line through the middle. One side, you're going to put needs. One side, you're going to label wants. Your current bills, like what you currently pay for monthly, categorize them and put the amounts. Rent, need, right? Food, need. Cell phone, need, right? Gas, insurance, right? Those are needs, okay? Then do your wants. Netflix subscription, Hulu subscription, DirecTV subscription, your monthly prize pack that you signed up on Instagram.
Cable.
Yeah. You know, whatever you like, membership to something that you don't even need, right? I don't know. Maybe you go monthly. Maybe you got a Disneyland season pass, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you need to go to Disneyland six times a year? I don't know. Probably not. I haven't been to Disneyland in like 20 years.
Do you need to go on vacation?
Yeah, vacations. Like, yeah, I would say, a vacation can be both. It could be a need and a want. Everyone needs time to reset. Now it's maybe just like what vacation and what's the budget for that vacation, right? So do that activity and really take a look at like what you're spending your money on. And then from there, maybe, I would focus more on the wants. Like what sacrifices can you do without? Is there a way to do without some of these wants that I have on this list? And then when you look at the needs, then it's like, how can we save some money on this category? That's going to make the difference, right? And those are the type of sacrifices that, one, will put you in a position to be better suited to take that next step into home ownership, because you don't want to be what's called house rich and cash broke. Basically, that means, yeah, you own a home, but you have no money to enjoy life, right? And that's something that we don't want you to experience as well.
Look, this is just reality. I think the first 3 years are always the hardest.
100%.
Right? And you might experience a little bit of that your first 3 years. But what comes after that, Mark?
Yeah, you start figuring stuff out. The cool part about it is, been doing this 7 years now. Like, you figure it out. Even me speaking personally, you get over that fear of owing so much money. You get over that fear of having maybe a higher monthly payment than rent, and you figure it out. It's hard to explain. It's only something like homeowners kind of know.
Yeah.
It's like you figure it out. I feel like you figure out how to budget better owning a home than as a renter.
When you don't have any other choice is when you figure it out. You don't want to be homeless. You don't want to, lose your house, let it go into short sale or foreclosure. You don't want to do that. So, like you said, Mark, you kind of are forced to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when you start, I feel that's when like things start, I would say, like, just speaking personally, like financial, I've always been good with like managing money, but like since becoming like a homeowner, I feel like I got really good at managing money. Like, especially living where we live and how expensive stuff is, just cost of living stuff. And I kind of like, damn, like how did I even survive like when I was younger and renting and not making, the salary I make now? Like, how did I even survive? Like, and it makes you think like, what's really important to you, like, okay, looking back at it, and this is the knowledge we're trying to give you guys, is looking back at it, like, would I've done things differently in the aspect of how I live my life? Probably not, but like on a financial like responsibility, yeah, I would have, bro. I would have went back in. If I can go back in time and talk to 25-year-old Mark, I would sit him down with his buddies that rented the house together and say, hey, we all three have a good job. Why don't we go buy a house together and just pay the mortgage instead of renting someone else's? And right now, 18 years later, we would have a paid off house more than likely, right? We all have grown in our careers. We all already own homes. We could have like a rental property giving us passive income right now in a prime location in the Bay Area where rents are like $6-7 grand a month.
Or you could have sold that, took in your equity out,
and use that as my down payment to finance
for another house.
To find not only for another house, but to finance my
Your first
primary
one, yeah.
house. You know, we could have used those. We could have said, "Hey, let's sell." Right? We've owned this home. We're all looking to buy or buy me out. Right? And then you guys can hold on to it and like buy me out, and then I can use that money as my down payment.
You know, you just gave me a good idea for a future podcast.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
We're going to talk about it. Is you can buy with other people that aren't your family members.
Yeah. And you know what? Those are the type of, that's another, you know, you know, we're going to make this podcast, we're going to keep it around 30 minutes. So we're going to wrap up soon. That's another sacrifice. Sacrificing those in your circle that don't have your best interests, that aren't supporting the moves you're trying to make. If you have someone telling you, go buy that $100,000 Escalade and go park it in your rental driveway, you got the wrong person advising you.
100%.
That person would say, hey, Mark, don't buy that car. You want an Escalade? Go buy the used Escalade for 30 grand. Go get a payment from the credit union, right? Then save that money and go buy a house. And then in 2 to 3 years, when the dust settles and you're comfortable with your expenses and you figured it out as a homeowner and getting that new Escalade's in your budget, go get that new Escalade and park it in your driveway. Your driveway, not your landlord's. That's a sacrifice, man. You got to start surrounding yourself with people that have the same goals and aspirations as you, or people that's already done it.
Yeah.
Instead of people with this mindset that I got to be flashy. Oh, I got this $20,000 worth of clothes on. Who cares?
I got this Rolex on my.
Who cares? Like that's all material stuff. Like tangible assets, like housing, buying businesses, man, even stocks and stuff, you know, like investing your money is what wealth is about, right? That's the wealthy. The wealthy are the people that own the world, the soil you live on. That's wealth, not the fancy car that you're struggling to make a payment. You know, why does half your paycheck go to pay? Why do you get 2 paychecks a month? Why does one pay your car and one pay your rent? What if one paycheck paid your car and your rent, and then the other paycheck you could save, and then you can spend like some stuff, right?
Right.
They say you should pay yourself before you pay others. That one book, My Rich Dad Poor Dad. You should pay yourself and then pay others. And what he means by that is you get your money, you pay yourself, and then you pay your other stuff. And the trick on growing wealth is to have the assets and the stuff you own pay for your luxury items. Get the stuff first and have that stuff create some type of passive income to pay for your luxury items. Just saying. It's a knowledge bomb. Knowledge bomb for all of you guys. Cool, man. So sacrifice. Sometimes, you know, it's not easy, but I would say the reward outweighs the struggle.
Yeah. Work hard for 10 years to enjoy another 50, 60, or you might just struggle those 60, 70.
You know, and I get it. You know, tomorrow's not given, right? Tomorrow's not given. But, you know, I'm going to leave it, and I'm not going to, one of my good friends told me this quote. I don't know the exact quote, and we'll end it on this. And it's so true, right? And it can go for any gender. I think the original quote is more towards like fathers or whatever, but any gender, moms, fathers, sons, daughters, whatever, is success. Like, my success is planting a tree that I'll never enjoy the shade, but those after me will.
Generational.
That's it.
Yeah, generational for sure.
And if you have that mindset, man, like that's the mindset I have right now, and that's what I'm trying to do. But I'm trying to enjoy a little bit of the shade, but to set up the next generation to like not have that same struggle and to pass on that like belief and knowledge, bro. It's like,
which brings me another idea for another podcast is we're going to talk about trust, right? Which if you're a homeowner, you should have yours in a trust. And then we're going to talk about setting up yourself with maybe life insurance because, hey, tomorrow is not promised, like you mentioned. And if something happens, is your family going to be okay to, be able to live comfortably without you?
Yeah. So 2025, like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We're going to put you up on game, the most valuable podcast every Thursday on all streaming platforms at 9 a.m. and on YouTube if you want to look at our pretty faces. We appreciate all the feedback we've been getting. We appreciate those who have downloaded the podcast and listened. Hey, it's free to share. Please share it to friends and families and others. MVP Real Estate is going to help you get to that next level in 2025. And as always, we look forward
to winning with you.